All right, so the article from the blackhomeschool.com. All right, how's everybody doing on YouTube? This is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network. There's a new study that talks about the impact that African American teachers have on African American students, okay? And how African American teachers, even just having one African American teacher, it can reduce, actually reduces the dropout rate. The blackhomeschool.com has an article about this new study, and we'll give you the name of the study here in just a minute also. But black teachers decrease the dropout rate for black students. This is a 65-page study, came out in March of 2017, called The Long Run Impacts of Same-Race Teachers. The Long Run Impacts of Same-Race Teachers, okay? So a new study by a group of researchers at John Hopkins University concluded that African American students gain a significantly higher chance of graduating high school and attending college by having black teachers in their lives starting in elementary school. Okay? Now, of course, we know that there's some people who should not be teachers, but there are a whole lot of good teachers out there also. There are a whole lot of great African American teachers as well. Now, according to a press release that came out last Wednesday, April 5th, 2017. The press release was published on the John Hopkins University website. The new study's research team consisted of Seth Gershenson, who's an assistant professor of public policy at American University, Cassandra M.D. Hart of the University of California, and also Constance A. Lindsay of American University. Okay, so the study's co-author, who's Nicholas Papageorge, is an economics professor at Johns Hopkins University. The study's findings were published in a journal for the Institute of Labor Economics, okay? Now, Nicholas Papageorge, who is the co-author of the study, said, quote, black students matched to black teachers have been shown to have higher test scores, but we wanted to know if these student-teacher racial matches had longer lasting benefits. We found the answer is a resounding yes. Now, Nicholas Papageorge's observational agendas during the study were particularly partial to young, underprivileged black boys. Particularly partial to young, underprivileged black boys. Now, he went on to say, we're seeing spending just 1 year with a teacher of the same race can move the dial on one of the most frustratingly persistent gaps in educational attainment, that of low-income black boys. Let me repeat this. According to this study, they found that spending just 1 year with a black teacher, okay, can move the dial on one of the most frustratingly persistent gaps in educational attainment, that of low-income black boys. Okay, now he said it not only moves the dial, it moves the dial in a powerful way. Okay, now the Johns Hopkins University research team originally analyzed around 100,000 African American students who began third grade in North Carolina public schools from 2001 to 2005. Okay, they had 100,000 African American students in their study. Okay, the Johns Hopkins University research team originally analyzed around 100,000 African American students who began third grade in North Carolina public schools from 2001 to 2005. Okay, if having a teacher with high expectations for you matters in high school, imagine how much it matters in the third grade. Okay, if having a teacher with high expectations for you matters in high school, imagine how much it matters in the third grade. Okay, and I remember when I was in school, I did best in the classroom when I had a teacher who had high expectations, high goals, things like this for students, okay? As opposed to a teacher who is trying to be the friend of the teacher. When you have a teacher who has high expectations and high goals, you're going to get you'll get better results. Okay, all right. So many of these kids can't imagine being an educated person, and perhaps that's because they've never seen one that looks like them. Then they get to spend a whole year with one, okay, an educated African American person. This one black teacher can change a student's entire future outlook. Okay, so you can check out this article. This is from the blackhomeschool.com, the blackhomeschool.com. Black teachers decrease the dropout rate for black students. Black teachers decrease the dropout rate for black students. And then when we look at the abstract of the study on page 3 of the study, it says the long run impacts of same race teachers. Black primary school students matched to a same race teacher perform better on standardized tests and face more favorable teacher perceptions, yet little is known about the long run sustained impacts of student-teacher demographic match. We show that assigning a black male to a black teacher in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th grades significantly reduces the probability that he drops out of high school, particularly among the most economically disadvantaged African American males. Okay? Exposure to at least one black teacher in grades 3rd through 5th also increases the likelihood that persistently low-income students of both sexes aspire to attend a 4-year college. These findings are robust across administrative data from 2 states and multiple identification strategies, including an instrumental variables strategy that exploits within school intertemporal variation in the proportion of black teachers, family fixed effects models that compare siblings who attended the same school, and the random assignment of students and teachers to classrooms created by the Project STAR, S-T-A-R, the Project STAR class size reduction experiment. Okay, that's from page 3 of the study that shows that's the abstract of it. Okay, we're going to we'll post this article from the blackhomeschool.com here on the thread. Okay, and this falls in line with other studies in the past that dealt with similar findings. Okay, the crucial role that African American teachers play in an African American child's life, especially African American males. All right. Okay, so you have this article also from AtlantaBlackStar.com. With just one black teacher, black students much more likely to graduate high school. Now, a lot of people don't know that under President Obama, a lot of people don't know this, under President Obama, the high school graduation rate for African Americans reached an all-time high. Okay? How many people knew this? If you look at from whitehouse.gov, because a lot of people say, oh, President Obama didn't do anything for black people. President Obama didn't do anything for black people. When did you go research that? What evidence are you citing? When did you go research that? Okay. So if you look at progress of the African American community during the Obama administration, now were there more things that could have taken place, have been done? Yes. Okay, and there are a number of different reasons why. First of all, we didn't present an agenda to President Obama until August of 2013. That was in his second term. The LGBT community presented a 54-page agenda to President Obama within the first 60 days of his first term. Okay, but if we look at this, and this is still up, I'm on it right now, whitehouse.gov, progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. So I find it very interesting that people who say President Obama never did anything for, he didn't do anything for African Americans, or his presidency didn't benefit African Americans, they never cite this. I find that very interesting. They never cite this because this runs it down. Okay, so if we look at under education, and I'm going to it now. Let's see here. They deal with the high school graduation rate for African American students is at its highest point in history. So a lot of people don't talk about this. Okay, a lot of people don't talk about this. All right. Now on YouTube, who's that? Sharon Doyle said, "What did he do?" Okay, go to whitehouse.gov and search for progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. And they have a long list of things. Progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. Now, the question I would ask people is, why haven't you read this? The people who say he didn't do anything, this came out October 14, 2016. The people who say President Obama didn't do anything for black people, why haven't you read this? What research have you done on his policies to make the determination that he didn't do anything for black people? Or are you just repeating nonsense that you heard from some other fool? This is a legitimate question. The high school graduation rate for African American students is at its highest point in history. In the 2013 to 2014 academic year, 72.5% of African American public high school students graduated within 4 years. In the 2013 to 2014 academic school year, 72.5% of African American public high school students graduated within 4 years. Okay, so why isn't this something that we talk about? Because we're quick to talk about how bad many of our children are, but oftentimes don't talk about when some information comes out that's good about them. The other thing is that why are we so quick to believe something negative that we hear about our children in the media with very little evidence to prove that it's true, but we find it hard to believe something positive about African American children when we have the evidence to prove it? Why are we so quick to believe something negatively about African American children, especially when there's very little evidence to prove it? But we're quick to believe that, but we find it hard to believe something positive about African American children when we have evidence to prove it. Now, since President Obama took office, January 20th, 2009, over 1 million more Black and Hispanic students enrolled in college. How many people knew this? Among African Americans and Hispanic students 25 years old and older, high school completion is higher than ever. Okay? So that means some of them may have gotten a GED or something like that. Okay? But among African Americans and Hispanic students 25 years old and older, high school completion is higher than ever before. Among African Americans, Hispanics, and Asian students 25 years old and older, bachelor degree attainment is higher than ever before. As of 2015, 88% of the African American population, 25-year-old or older, had at least a high school degree, and 23% had at least a bachelor's degree. That's the highest it's ever been in history. How come that's not talked about? I find it very interesting. We're quick to talk about negative things about our children and quick to believe negative things about our children with very little evidence to prove it. But positive things about our children, where there's evidence to prove it, we don't talk about that. Very interesting. Okay, once again, Check this out. Progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. Progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. Now, did we get everything we wanted? No. Is there more we could have pushed for? Yes. The other thing is, it's not just pushing an agenda to President Obama or the president, is also pushing an agenda to the U.S. House of Representatives as well as the U.S. Senate, because they're the ones that draft the laws. They're the legislative branch. They're the ones that draft the laws. All right, and then there was also another huge list of things. And this is from, well, you can look at Washington Monthly. Now, this deals with in general, but it helps benefit African Americans, just like the Affordable Health Care Act. Affordable Health Care Act, you have 3 million non-elderly African Americans who now have health care who didn't already have it under the Affordable Health Care Act. For African Americans, you can wealth gap, okay? And we know that the median household net worth for a white family is $141,900 compared to $11,000 for an African American family. So when you can get health care, you can get affordable health care, you can reduce the medical bills, you can reduce bankruptcies, and we know that bankruptcies impact us more, impact African Americans more because we have less wealth. Obama's top 50 accomplishments. WashingtonMonthly.com. WashingtonMonthly.com. This is from April 2012. Obama's top 50 accomplishments. Okay, check that out. And then also, you got this big one. He's done a lot. 308 accomplishments of President Obama. Okay, you can, and they list nearly 450, but they list links to articles to substantiate what they're saying also. It's not because of our spending habits. It's because of public policies that have maldistributed wealth, power, and resources into the hands of Europeans. That's why. If you read How White Folks Got So Rich, the Untold Story of American White Supremacy, they deal with that. Okay, now Johnny Ray on Facebook said, do you hear anything source? What are you talking about, Johnny Ray? All right. But you can also Google this. Obama's legacy, nearly 450 Obama accomplishments with citations. This is from pleasecutthecrap.com. And each one, they have evidence to back up what they're saying. Okay. Within his first week, he signed an executive order to audit government contracts and combating waste and abuse. He created the post of Chief Performance Officer, whose job it is to make operations more efficient to save the federal government money. On his first full day, he froze White House salaries for the duration of the Great Recession. He appointed the first federal chief information officer to oversee federal IT spending and efficiency. He created the National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform, signed an executive order instructing federal agencies to review all federal regulations and remove any unnecessary and or burdensome regulations from the books, dismantled the Minerals Management Service, thereby cutting ties between energy companies and the government, banned gifts from lobbyists to anyone in the executive branch, banned gifts from lobbyists to anyone in the executive branch, banned anyone from working in an agency they had lobbied in previous years, and placed strict limits on lobbyists' access to the White House, held the first online town hall from the White House and took questions from the public, became the first president to stream every White House event live, established a central portal for Americans to find service opportunities, restored the 30-day time frame for former presidents to review records, and eliminated the right for the vice president or family members of former presidents to do the reviews, giving the public greater access to historic White House documents, and curtails the use of executive privilege to shield them. Improved the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, improved the Freedom of Information Act, and issued new guidelines to make FOIA more open and transparent when processing FOIA requests. Okay, Freedom of Information Act. Signed a law to completely reform NSA, National Security Administration, a National Security Agency, data collection program, and keep phone records in the hands of the phone company. We saw that Donald Trump just signed an executive order to reverse President Obama's policy on internet companies being able to sell your browser history to a third-party company without your permission. Why would Donald Trump do something like that? By the end of the first year, the economy created and sustained 2.1 million jobs, and this stimulated the economy by 3.5%. He established the Making Home Affordable Home Refinancing Plan. He established the Making Home Affordable Refinancing Plan. In 2010 alone, more jobs were created than have been created during the Bush's 8 years in office. In 2010 alone, more jobs were created under President Obama than have been created during Bush's 8 years in office. Okay, so check this out once again. What is that? I'll give you the name of this. It's 400. It's nearly 450 accomplishments of the Obama administration. Nearly 450 Obama accomplishments with citations. Also, go to whitehouse.gov. Progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. Progress of the African American community during the Obama administration. Okay, on Facebook, the source said Black Wall Street was cool, but they became very comfortable and forgot who they were around and were still very... What are you talking about, man? When did you go study Black Wall Street? What are you citing that said they became very comfortable and forgot who they were around? They were attacked. Go watch the documentary Resurrecting Black Wall Street, The Blueprint. I'm in that documentary, and I deal with the history of Black Wall Street. They were attacked in the Ku Klux Klan, which was rejuvenated in 1915 because of the movie The Birth of a Nation, manipulated the sentiments of white men and basically told them that the reason why you don't have jobs is because of those black people in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Okay, you have to go study the history. There were tensions that were building, and this was after World War I. And in 1919 was known as the Red Summer. You had over 25 major race riots across the country because you had white people attacking African Americans because these white men came back home from World War I. They couldn't find jobs because a lot of jobs that they had were now being done by white people, by African Americans and other immigrants coming to this country. Okay, so if you think we have to build a military force, you still haven't studied Black Wall Street, because those black men were armed and they shot back and they fought back. You haven't studied the history. They were outnumbered. You had a lot of retired World War I veterans. If you actually go do the research, you find out that Dick Rowland, when he was in jail, in the county jail, you had 200 armed African American men who went to the county jail to protect Dick Rowland, to keep him from being kidnapped and killed by a mob of 500 white men. What the hell are you talking about? Go do some research. Go do some research. No, the history, you can't understand the present till you understand the history. You haven't studied the history, the source. You haven't studied the history. Go read the book by Hannibal B. Johnson, dealing with Black Wall Street, dealing with Black Wall Street, from AtlantaBlackStar.com. With just one black teacher, black students must. So the chances that low-income black boys would drop out of school decrease significantly when they have at least one black teacher in the classroom, according to a new study. Now, a recent report from the IZA Institute of Labor Economics, examining the long-term impact of students taught by teachers of the same race, found that poor black students who have one or more black teachers in elementary school are much more likely to graduate high school and consider going to college. Having at least one of the same race in the third through fourth grades diminishes black students' probability of dropping out 29%. Just having one. That people like the source don't know that black woke are largely driven by just one black teacher, quote, means we can implement this really on the children. Okay, so let's go to YouTube. Okay, we're back on YouTube. How's everybody doing there on YouTube? It's something with the internet, I don't know. It should be working fine. I just paid I just paid Comcast $175 for cable and internet here in the office. It should be working perfectly. Should not be any problems, but whatever. That's the way it is, okay? All right. If you have a question or comment, you can give us a call, 914-338-1375, 914-338-1375 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment, all right? At our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, all of my DVD lectures are there. Okay, on YouTube, that's him inspiring black kids to graduate. Okay, Sharon Doyle said. We have visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have all of my DVD lectures there. She said, I would say black kids were encouraged by seeing a black president, so they worked harder. President Obama does not get credit for that. Well, he also provided a good example, much better example than this idiot. President Obama provided a better example. Joey Cat said, that's what I meant to say. Patricia Moorhead. Okay, Trish from Chicago. How you doing, Trish? Okay, so here's an excerpt of the documentary Hidden Colors 4, The Religion of White Supremacy. It's available right now at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We also have the Hidden Colors Family Bundle Pack. Get all 4 installments of Hidden Colors, get 4 of my DVD presentations, and get 1 installment of Afro Man and the Protectors of the Book of Knowledge.
And erasing the history of African people and inserting them. It took 3 generations of Greeks under Egyptian rulership that they could finally find one that they could teach.
Now the Egyptians call their land Kemet, and they use a piece of charcoal, a burnt piece of wood as charcoal, to symbolize what they mean.
All right, guys, we're going to stop broadcasting. All right, we'll be back on YouTube. Take care.
Their carvings of themselves, they paint their skins